hi everyone. I know it's been a while since my last video and I apologize for that, but I wanted to show you what I've been working on and show you what this video is about. And let's start with some stuff that I've been working on. This is a bird that I did in class. A little blue bird on a yellow flower. Bring it in a little bit so you can see it a little better. Although it is blurry, but sorry about that. I do have a website that features my art. It's called paintedwithfavor.blogspot.com. If you're interested in going there and seeing what all I've been working on. Now, the reason why I'm showing you some of my paintings today is because I've been teaching myself how to draw, and I'm a much better painter than I am drawer or illustrator. So you're going to see the drawings and go, lovely. No, you're not going to say that, but my paintings are much better, so I'm going to show those to a little bit of bragging. I did this. This is the first thing that I ever did in my painting class. I have a really great instructor. And this one is not done. I was working on this at the end of November, beginning of December, and had an emergency in the family and wasn't able to finish it, so I need to get back with my instructor and do that. And I don't know if I can adjust the focus on that. Here we go. So you can see some of the details. You can see where the leaves aren't done, or the little filler flowers aren't done. I still needed to put some stamen in here and here and do some highlights. Not highlights, but reflected light, a little bit of glazing. So there we go with that. Now today, I wanted to show you the paint that I received. It's ProMix Color System. It's by John Howard Sandin. And it's a pre-mixed color system that he put together, and you combine it with other paint. Here's the tubes of paint that come in that mix, and then there's a separate mix tubes of paint that you buy that you combine with them to do flesh tones. And one of the things I've been wanting to do is portraits, and I thought I'd buy this and figure out how to use it, and that it would maybe help me mix the colors for portraits. I want to do this portrait. It's of my nephew when he was a baby. He's very different now. He's taller than me and is driving. But the reason why I want to do this is my sister lost everything in a wildfire a couple years ago, including several pictures of my nephew when he was a baby. And so I found this the other day, and I thought, well, I'll do a portrait for her 50th birthday. That's coming up here in May. She's going to die. I'm not going to tell you her name, but she'd die if she found out that I was telling people she's going to be 50. Here are some books. Portraits. Let me back up a little bit. Portraits in Oil, the Van Wyck Way. Now, Helen Van Wyck is one of my favorite. I have 3 favorite female artists: Helen Van Wyck, Joyce Pike, and Patricia Moran. And Helen has, let's see if I can find, I should have marked them before I started the video, but that didn't happen, so you just have to bear with me. She has, let me just pull out this. She has several books. One of them is called Color Mixing, the Van Wyck Way, a manual for oil painters. And she also has combinations for mixing together flesh tones for doing portraits. I highly recommend that you get some of Helen's books. Warm colors, cool colors, and then the mixes for them. I also have a book by Patricia Moran, The Oil Painter's Ultimate Flower and Portrait Companion. She also has mixtures in here. tips on how to divide up your canvas and mix color. And she says that painting portraits is a lot like painting still lifes. You're just doing it of a person. This is one of her still life paintings. She is so very, very good, and she does very large 6 foot by 6 foot still life paintings. I mean, she doesn't play around. And I recommend buying some of her books. And this is a mixture that she did using these colors. I'm not going into a little bit more detail on my website. I'm going to do a blog post to accompany this video. And I'm not even going to do the whole mixing thing on this because, one, it's not my system, and I don't know what all the copyright laws would entail if I were to sit here and do an entire video of how to mix this guy's stuff, how much trouble I would get into. So I'm just going to do one section for you. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest for myself. Here is a Painting a Direct Approach by Joyce Pike. I recommend you buying her books as well. And then also, if you're into decorative art and decorative painting, which, you know, you've heard me say this before, there's not much difference between decorative art and what's called fine art. And in fact, there's really no difference. There's, you know, when you do fine art, you have a pattern that we use. Some people put that pattern in loosely, and some people put that pattern in very stiff and formal. And but there's still a pattern. So don't let anybody tell you that if you're doing a decorative art that you're not doing real art. Look at this. The plums on that. Let me go forward a little bit or zoom in. So the plums on that are just exquisite. And then they have plum step by step. So you have base coated except for where you're going to put your highlight. Leave the crease. You can see where the different color is going in. And then the highlights. Now, as with other painting, you do paint in layers with decorative art. Sometimes you let them dry in between. Sometimes you go over them. Sometimes you paint side by side and fill it in. There's another example. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Very colorful, very feminine. This book is Eileen Bratton's Decorative Painting Treasures. And these books are all back from back in the late 90s, early to late 90s. So let's take a look at John Howard Sandin and his method. Now I've put together this is a large fold out, and it ranges from light 1 to light 2, light 3, halftone 1, halftone 2, dark 1, and dark 2. It's over here in the dark. Dark 2 is in the dark. Now look at the green of halftone 1. Isn't that interesting that when you're doing portraits, you have green? Well, that's not all you have, because, he also has neutral 3, neutral 3, neutral 5, and neutral 7. Those all come in the paint kit that I just showed you. He also has, now see how I number or I letter everything? Cadmium yellow, light, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, viridian red, cadmium orange, burnt sienna, burnt umber, permanent alizarin crimson. There's alizarin crimson, and then there's permanent alizarin crimson. It depends on how long you want your painting to last, because